And right now I want to talk about a little thing called the kit bashing. You might have heard that term somewhere before, and basically what that means is that you take some components and little objects and bash them, mold them into something new to create a quick prototype or a quick sketch, and you can work from that. And yeah, I'm talking about it because right now I want to create some cool stuff underneath these platforms, these islands, and I want it to look really detailed and technical. I want there some kind of boxes and tanks and cylinders and stuff. So yeah, but I don't want to spend like a lot of time on that. So basically I will create just 2 or 3 components and bash them together to create something that looks good on the first sight. So let's get to it and let's create the first object. Now we'll need to disable this main collection, so let's collapse this and just uncheck this checkbox right here, and we can reset the cursor. So you can use Shift S for snapping and select the cursor to world origin. Right now we'll just create a new object. So let's create a new cylinder. Shift A to add mesh cylinder. And right now I wanted to have maybe 12 again, is okay. We don't need that much segments since we're in low poly mode, and just tab in. Let's scale this on the X and Y plane, so S and Shift Z to lock it. And I want to do maybe something like this, maybe even a little bit more. Yeah, that'll be cool. And rotate on the Y-axis, so R and Y, 90 degrees, so put it 90, enter. And right now I just want to select the caps, so alt click here and alt click here. And let's bevel this, so Control B. Sorry, if this happens to you, that means you're in the vertex select, and when you select connected loops, it'll select basically all the edges between, and the bevel tool will try to bevel them as well. So if you just want to bevel caps, the best thing to do is to go into the edge select or face select mode. So let's go to the face select and just select these cap faces and press Control B and bevel these. Now let's increase this to 3 segments and make a really large bevel here. And right now we can make some cuts. So let's make one here and one here. They doesn't have to be the same. On the contrary, we need some variation there. And right now we can go to the face select by pressing 3 and alt clicking the loops right here. And right now I just want to extrude this inside, so Alt E and extrude faces along normals. Let's push this a little bit inside. Okay, like this, and let's make some new cuts. I want to make 2 more here, and let's just cancel this. And now I want to do some random extruding, some random details. Basically what this object is, it's like some kind of tank with the fuel or something like that will be underneath those platforms, and I want it to look really technical. So yeah, we can just maybe select some faces like these 2 here and do extrusion. So just press E and extrude that, and you can further use inset and extrude that once again. Maybe you can do some connected faces like this and extrude them, and maybe inset and extrude just one of them, or maybe extrude this even more. You know what I mean. So basically when you look from the side, it looks really detailed and kind of a technical. Yeah, so we can make inset here and extrude this, scale this down a little bit maybe. We can maybe do this inside, or rather let's make something like this, and we can push this inside, inset, and maybe extrude outside. So that's a nice detail there. So you can follow what I did right here, or you can create something on your own. It really doesn't matter right here, as long as you're satisfied with the results and it looks good. So yeah, I think this will do nicely for some kind of tank or something like this. We can maybe do some kind of extrusion here to really add to those details. Nothing too crazy, just do some interesting details. Okay, and let's name this tank. Okay, and right now we can hide this and we can create our next component. So let's add a new cylinder. Once again, Shift A, mesh, cylinder, and we can leave it at 12 segments. So just scale this down a little bit. And right now I want to move this up, so the pivot point is on the bottom. So let's press G, then Z, and move this up. And we can make this higher. So let's select the top face, press G, Z, and move this up. Now let's make a new cut somewhere here. I want to bevel this, so Control B, and reduce the segments with mouse wheel to just 1, and make a loop like this. And right now we can go back to the face select with 3, alt click the loop right here and scale on the X and Y plane, so Shift Z, and scale this down. Right now we can go crazy like before, so maybe one more loop here, and we can extrude this inside. So alt click and extrude inside. We can maybe do some inset here and extrude this, maybe even more, and extrude inside. And let's select this loop right here. Let's bevel this. Yeah, and maybe create 2 new cuts here, scale them on the Z axis, and push it inside. And again, this is completely random. I'm just creating something that would look good as some kind of a technical piece. So yeah, you can use extrude and press S to extrude with even thickness. And yeah, maybe select these 3 faces, inset with I, extrude, or Alt E to extrude along normals. Yeah, just go around your object and see where it might need some details. I can select this loop right here with Control, inset, and press Alt E to extrude along normals. We can scale this down a little bit maybe. So basically, when you rotate around the object, there are places that you can see those interesting details. And maybe we can do some thing around here. Yeah, I really like this. And let's call this tank 2, although it might not be a tank, but never mind. And let's hide that. And the last thing I want to create is some box component to complement the cylinder in the layout. So let's press Shift A and create the plane. Right now we can just scale this down, scale on X to create like a really long rectangle, and we can extrude this with E like this. Now go to the edge select mode with 2, select these edges with Shift and bevel. Now we can use like 3 segments or so, and I don't want these bevels to be so large, so just the small subtle bevels right there. And right now we can go to the face select, or by pressing 3 and shift click these faces to select them. Let's make an inset with I and press Alt E to extrude along normals and push it a little bit inside to give it some structure. And right now we can just select the top face, inset, but look out for the corners so you don't get this kind of overlap. Okay, like this. Maybe you can scale it down a little bit, then it doesn't matter because it won't overlap no more. And yeah, you can basically scale this and maybe on the X as well, and move it on the X and Y plane by pressing G and Shift Z. Move it like a little bit to the side. I'll extrude this inside a little closer and make an inset, but really be careful around those corners because they will overlap really soon. So just make a really subtle inset and then continue scaling, so you get something like this, and you can scale this up. Okay, so that's kind of a, yeah, let's name it box. And I think our components are ready, so we can enable our collection. And yeah, the size looks good, so let's enable them all. We can select them here in the outline view by holding Shift and clicking them, and let's maybe move them on the X-axis right here so they are not in the way, and maybe distribute them on the Y. And yeah, so this is our basis for the kit bashing, and right now we can start going a little bit crazy under these platforms, and I will show you how you can lay out these objects to create some interesting details. Okay, let's get started. First of all, I want you to select the box, or rather select all of them and press M to move to the main collection. We don't want them to be separated from this. And now let's select only the box and rotate on the X-axis 180 degrees, so R, X, 180. We can go to the top view, switch to the wireframe so we can see what's going on here. And here you can see there's a platform outline underneath, so yeah, we can move the box right there. And right now you can just rotate it maybe 90 degrees. So let's press R, 90, and let's place it somewhere here, or maybe here. And yeah, this radius right here is where the platform is. It might be a little bit harder to make something out of this, but yeah, this is the platform. So we are positioning this under it, and right now we can use Alt+D to move this here on the X, and yeah, maybe we can rotate it 190 so we have some variation. We can select the first one, press Alt D again to create a link duplicate, and maybe move this here. And we can Alt D this one, move it here, rotate 90 degrees, and align it with these others. Yeah. If you press 9 while you're in orthographic views, you will switch to the other side, so that can be useful. If you switch to solid, you can see how they're exactly placed. So we can maybe move this here a little bit, and this one here. Now we can select them and place them a little bit more in the center. And if you look from the front, basically they're on the 0, so yeah, we can maybe move them a little bit down so they're touching the platform there. So I like this so far, and we can select the cylinder here, go to the top view, wireframe, and move it under the platform, and we can probably make it a bit larger like this. Go to the front view with 1 and move it down to touch these boxes. So if you look from the perspective view, it looks like this. Now switch to the side view. You can duplicate Alt D the cylinder to create a link duplicate, press Y, move it, and right now we can maybe rotate it to create a variation again. So let's rotate, and yeah, maybe not so much, or a little bit more. So when you look from the sides, these basically look like a little bit different details from the sides. And yeah, let's look from the top and the bottom. We can maybe create some more variation by misaligning them like this. Yeah, and right now there's some space for these smaller tanks or smaller cylinders. So let's do that. Let's select this cylinder and let's rotate it on the x-axis, so Rx 180. Let's look from the front and move it somewhere here. We can make it larger, I think. And if you look from the side, you want to place it in the gap, so next to the cylinder, maybe like this. Okay, and now we can move it up. Okay, and right now we'll just continue like this until we have something that I'm satisfied with. And so let's place it like that. And yeah, so you can follow my placements here, or you can do something on your own, totally up to you. Right now I will duplicate one of these boxes and Alt D on the Z-axis and move them where the cylinders are, make it a little bit larger. And yeah, we can duplicate this one, move it here, make it a little bit smaller, and move it on the X. So it's placed here, and we can now look from the front, duplicate these, rotate 90 degrees, and attach it here from the side. Or move it here in between, that will look good maybe. Yeah, I really like that placement, and I want maybe the other one too, so let's go to the front view and Alt D, rotate Z 90 degrees, or rather rotate Z 180 degrees. Let's press G and move it here. We can make this a little bit larger though. And if you look from this side and switch to the orthographic by pressing 5, you can see what the final view will be, what the final composition will be of these objects, and you can always change it according to that. So maybe I want this more near the edge here, so let's rotate this 180 and move this here. So you have some nice detail popping out of there. Okay, and right now maybe we can duplicate this wireframe. So let's go to the front view, Alt D, Z, and make it a little bit smaller here. Move it maybe here. Yeah, and we can scale it down even more. So it looks like it goes from the structure there to here. And I think it really adds a nice touch to this. So, and maybe select the box, press Alt D to duplicate, Z, rotate on the Z 90 degrees, make it a little bit smaller, and just place it somewhere here. So there's one more detail there. Okay, now what we can do is just look from the side and select all of this at the bottom. Just double check. Yeah, and go to the top view. Let's switch to wireframe and let's press Alt D to duplicate everything here. But maybe to have a simpler outline view later, because this is a lot of objects, we can parent this to the wireframe. So let's shift click this one and press Ctrl P, object, keep transform, and right now we can switch to the top view, press Alt D to move this here, and let's scale this down. And I forgot there's already a wireframe in place, but don't worry about that, just delete that one and move the new one in place. Let's switch to solid view, and maybe we can rotate this 90 degrees, so, or rather 180, so let's rotate this 180 degrees on the Z-axis, so R 180. And if you look at that, it's a little bit different from this one since it's rotated, and you really don't mind. That's very similar and it's from the same object. We can maybe delete this frame here to make it a little bit simpler. And yeah, right now I just want to maybe select these two tanks with some of these objects and go to the top view, wireframe, Alt D to duplicate, move it under the platform here, but the lines suggest that it's parented, so press Alt P, clear and keep transformation. Now rotate it 90 degrees and just place it here somewhere. Look from the side and place it under that platform. Okay, now we have some nice technical details. If you render these, it looks really awesome to have so many of so small details to look at. And if you give it enough variation, and maybe you can always go a little bit wild here and maybe create one or two more components, and then not just only duplicate them under these platforms, but you can create a unique composition of these objects under every platform if you put some time into it, and it'll get much better then. So yeah, go wild, don't restrict yourself, and you will see how you can create some really interesting compositions by using just 3 objects that we created very quickly. So yeah, this is some bash kitting for you, and let's move to finish the scene, and let's move on.